Thanks for coming today. Today we're going to talk about Adobe Acrobat and PDFs and all that good stuff related to it, and how you can create PDFs, how you can modify PDFs, some of the tools that you can use in Acrobat. We'll be talking specifically about Acrobat Pro version. We're going to be talking about version 10 or X. Version 11 or XI is now the current version, but there's not a huge difference between them at this point. Not much has changed. So they come out with new versions all the time. So a brief history of Acrobat. The first version was released actually way back in 1993. Yes. I remember going actually to a computer store in Irvine, California, and having to buy a copy of it. So $50 for a client out there, actually for an office of mine out there. And originally it was proprietary. I mean, this was Adobe's tool. They were actually competing Acrobat-like ideas out there. The first version actually came out for the Mac a few months later for PCs and Windows 3.1 originally. The IRS actually distributed Reader. They had a contract early on to distribute Reader for no fee. So they signed a deal with Adobe. Adobe got some bucks, which was good for them, small company in those days. And they distributed the Reader app for free. So most people got Reader for free, even though technically it wasn't a free app.
Right.
But you'd go to the government IRS site, you'd download it, and that's because they want to start doing all those forms that way. So that's where sort of free Acrobat Reader came about. There's been different packaging and names of it over the years. So it's been called Adobe, it's been called Acrobat, it's been called Acrobat Pro. There's been different modules. There's been Distiller, there's been Readers, there's been all different flavors of it over the years. I've lost track. Okay. The current version, again, is 11, or XI. And version 10, or X actually, is supported actually only until officially if it's supported till November of this year. Not sure what that really means other than maybe some security updates, which could be some concern. There are tablet versions of certainly the Reader tool that are available for iPhones and Androids and iPads and whatever. But generally not the creation tools. It's pretty much the Reader tools there, and there's lots of third-party ones out there. Because Acrobat uses basically as a tool to edit and modify PDF files or portable document format files. The PDF itself, again, developed by Adobe back in '91, before even Acrobat was released. But the specification for it was made open in '93. It was still proprietary, still owned by Adobe, but people could write tools using PDF formats until 2008, when it was actually made an open standard. So it wasn't until 2008 that it became an open standard. And there's the ISO number if you want to go look up the standard. It's pretty exciting. Hey. And basically, Adobe still owns has the rights to PDFs. They just grant it with a royalty-free license. So it is still their product. They extend it, and they didn't make all of it open, so there are certain Java extensions and some other extensions that are actually proprietary, and that's why certain things that you can do in Acrobat that you can't do in third-party tools, because they haven't necessarily licensed all that. Some of the security features not necessarily fully licensed out.
Alan, quick question.
Yep.
How much access do we have for our personal computers to Adobe Acrobat?
To Reader, you have full access because Reader's free. And then Pro itself, which is now the current name of it, you have to order on a machine-by-machine basis.
Okay.
And I think it's around $100. Don't quote me on the price. Okay. So again, what is a PDF? Okay, so the cool thing about a PDF is it's cross-platform, right? It works pretty much everywhere. And when you create a document using a PDF creation tool, it pretty much looks the same anywhere you look at it, which is why we like PDFs. It's actually, the innards of it it's actually a subset of the PostScript page description language. It's actually a programming language that was created originally by Adobe for printers, for printing, and it has a subset of it. So it actually is a fairly sophisticated programming tool inside of it. One of the key things it does font embedding, and it does font substitution. So this is why fonts basically look good when you create something with Acrobat, because if it can, it will embed the fonts actually right in the document. Otherwise, it does do, and you'll get these warnings sometimes saying it's substituting some font. So when it does that, you need to be a little careful making sure, because sometimes font substitution works really well. Other times, kerning and spacing and all that, not so pretty. Okay. And it also, the other third leg of it sort of is a structured storage system, which includes data compression. So this is why you can get a pretty good sized file, even with images, and create a PDF of it and make it a reasonably small file, especially if you tell it to do some optimization. And if we get to that, we can look at that. I'm not using any documents where that's much of an issue today, but we can see that. And again, as I said before, it's cross-platform. So I create a PDF on a Mac. It looks good on Windows. It looks good on Linux. It looks good on whatever platform. It doesn't matter. It looks good on the web. It's very easy to move around. Again, it does do compression, so people like to put them online. You don't need things like Word to make sure it works, so that's another good thing about it. That's PDFs. Okay. So using Acrobat, we're going to do a few things today using Acrobat. We will. We're going to create. I'm going to create some documents. I'm going to create from a Word. I'm going to create a PDF from a Word document. I'm going to do one from just a text file. And then we'll combine multiple documents into a single file, and then we'll extract and replace some pages, and we're going to link files and encrypt files and all that stuff. So if you have questions, please jump in.
And you're doing this all in the free version?
No, I'm doing this actually all in Pro.
Okay.
I'm doing this all in Pro. So I have Acrobat Pro on my computer here, and it's just running there. It's not doing anything. And at the top of the screen here, you'll see I have two Word documents, one called Advising at New College Cover, one called Advising Checklist, and a third document which is just it's just a text document, it's a text edit or a .txt file. And I'm going to create PDFs of all of these. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually not going to use Acrobat to create these PDFs, because you don't have to use Acrobat to create these PDFs. And in fact, with the latest versions of Acrobat, you tend to create the PDF from the source application. In the older versions, and in some installations, from Word, you can still create it from by an Acrobat download button that basically runs a distiller tool. Now, basically, it's just integrated into the tools like Word, and on a Mac, it's pretty much integrated all into the operating system. So I just use the built-in tools to create a basic PDF, and once that's created, then I'll use Acrobat for sort of enhancing, managing, and changing it. So I'm just going to take these documents here, and I just have a Word document here, and it's just a title page called Advising at New College. And to create a PDF of it on the Mac, I'm just going to do a save as, and it's pretty much the same on the PC, though it might be called share. It might be under the share menu. So that's possible. Anyway, here it is, it says PDF. On a Mac, you could also do this by print to PDF, and it'll save it as a PDF. I'm just going to call it there, leave it on my desktop. I have another document here called the Advising Checklist, which is just a 4-page Word document someone sent me. Again, I'm going to say save as a PDF. And finally, I have a page of links here. Okay. Sort of Newcology links. No extra space there. Okay, and actually I'll take one extra return there. And I'm going to say File. I'm going to say Export as PDF. Okay. And again, depending what operating system I'm on, there might be some other tools I have to use, but pretty much that's all I need to do. And you'll now see on my desktop on the right-hand side here, there's this advising cover, there is the checklist, and then there's the links. Okay, so they're now 3 PDF files. Now I'm going to actually use Acrobat. So one of the first things I want to do is I want to combine these files together. So I'm going to say I'm going to create files. I just have Acrobat open so you can see the little splash screen, but it's there. I'm going to say combine files into a single PDF. And if I want to just open these before, so here's the PDF. And I'm actually opening these on my Mac using Preview, which is a built-in app for the Mac that opens up PDFs. Again, Acrobat's an open standard, right? A PDF's an open standard. Apple has a tool that opens them. I actually tend to use Preview on my Mac because it's faster. And if I'm not trying to do a lot of heavy-duty editing, it does a lot of what I want to do anyway, so why not?
I was going to say, I don't have Pro, so I just use Preview to combine my documents together and compress files, because sometimes when we get thesis requests, we need to compress something, and so I'll compress them in Preview too.
And Preview's been enhanced quite a bit. It actually does a lot of what Acrobat Pro does now. So if you're on a Mac, you can get away without Pro in a lot of situations.
If you only have Reader, you can't do
Correct.
computer
Correct.
that has.
Yep. Yeah, actually, before I even go further, I think I have it here. Let's see. Because this question always comes up, what's in one versus the other? So I pulled up this handy chart from our friends at Adobe on their website. So again, the current version's 11, and there's a standard and a pro version. You'll see basically with Reader, you can view, search, print PDFs, and you can fill out PDF forms. We're not going to get into forms today too much, but if people want to talk about it, we can. You can do some annotation and commenting in Reader, which includes sticky notes, highlights, and lines and shapes. But you're not going to do a whole lot of sort of you're not going to be able to combine documents. You're not going to be able to relay them out. You're not going to be able to import
You can do
pages.
that in preview too.
Yes, correct. Yeah, a lot of the stuff you can do in preview. It's a little clunkier in preview, and we'll see. I'll take you through some of the options that you can't do in that are better in in Acrobat versus preview. And again, I use preview a lot. So there's that document, and here is this document. Now PDF, right? PDF-ish. Can't change it, at least easily. And here's this one of links, right? And these links are live links. Okay. So I'm going to open up Acrobat, and I'm going to say I want to create a document which is that cover page, that checklist, and then those links in one single document. Okay. So I'm going to create I'm going to say combine files into a single PDF. And again, the other ways that you can create PDFs, just briefly, is again on one easy way for us to do it for free, especially if you're in a platform where you don't have a writer, is upload it to your Google Drive, a Word document to your Google Drive, and then you can save it back down as a PDF. It's actually an option, and it creates PDFs for free. I'm going to add files, and I could do it by folder as well. So if I had these all in a folder, I could just add the folder here, but I'm just going to add these files. It's going to give me, you notice it's not showing me the Word files, it's only showing me the PDFs. So I'm going to say these links for advising checklists, and advising at New College project cover. I'm going to add those 3 files for now. And it put them in this order, and I want to change that order around. Do I? Nah, it's fine. But if I wanted to, I can just highlight a file and move it up or move it down, so I can change the order. And I could do this multiple times. So I can do one where I've created a big file, a PDF, and then add another one. So I've worked with students on theses where we've done this, and we have added their bibliography after, or their cover page after. So you can go back and tweak that, and we'll look at how you can insert pages after. But I'm going to put it in this order. I have my cover, my checklist, and then my text file. I'm going to say combine the files. And there's some here about file sizes. Again, if I cared about quality, I'd probably go to the highest one and then worry about shrinking it later. It's always best to shrink at the end, because you can never get quality back. Okay. So now I have a single PDF here. I'm in Acrobat Pro. There's the cover. There's the checklists, and it's multiple pages. And there are those links, and they are still live. I want to see I can do a thumbnail of the pages here. And we'll look at bookmarks and some other things. So, questions about that? Combining files. Pretty easy. And again, just pick the order and it does it. If they're different size pages, it will try to deal with that. It will bring them in at those pages. If there's different orientations, it would actually show me a landscape page. And I can go in and I can then rotate individual pages, because sometimes it is landscape, but for reasons of production, I might want to have everything portrait, right? Or vice versa, I might want to take a chart and make it landscape. Okay. So I can do all that good stuff.
And you can combine PDFs in preview, which I did not know until
Yes.
Marian showed me.
Yes,
the other day.
you can, and I always forget how to do it.
You have to look at make
The thumbnail
you do it
thing.
in
You have to do the thumbnail
thumbnail,
thing.
yeah.
You have to do the thumbnail, and you
just
drag it
in.
in, and that's how you can change pages too.
Yep.
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 Preview is actually a very slick tool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
If you're
nice.
still dealing with an older version of Office,
Mhm.
like 2003, then still downloading a free thing like Cute Writer
Yep, anything that generates the
Anything that
PDF,
will generate the PDF.
yeah, anything that generates the PDF, or again, upload it to Google.
Yeah, that's really easy.
It's a really easy way to do it. The downside is you want to keep it as a Word document while it's up there because other
The formatting can get
formatting. You got to be careful about formatting. That's always the issue on all these things is formatting. So
And if your document has a fear of heights, it's going up into the
it's
clouds.
going up and down, and it gets dizzy. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to first do a link, which is a link to a PDF. So I have another PDF on my desktop here called Contract PDF. And this is the New College Contract Form. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, from this PDF, I want to be able to link to another PDF. When we were doing our SACS reaccreditation last summer, my entire summer, this is how we did it. It's actually just a collection of about 1,000 PDF files. And the key is you got to make sure the structure stays the same in terms of files and folders and all that. But we just basically linked a lot of PDFs together, and then we sent it out on flash drives to the reviewers. This way, there was nothing they can edit. They didn't have to worry about editing or breaking anything like that. We didn't have to put up on a website. Easier than doing HTML. And everything just sort of linked together. So the way you do this, I'm going to look at number 18 here, where it says, do you understand the process of contract submission? I'm going to highlight the words contract submission. And in this case, I'm going to control or command click or right click, depending what operating system you're on. It might be slightly different. And I'm going to say create a link. That's going to pop up this window. And I can make it either visible or an invisible rectangle. If it's invisible, it's a little harder to find. Some people leave it visible for this purpose, but depending what you're doing, you might not want it visible. And when they move the little hand over, it'll change hands.
You just randomly click on
Words,
Yeah.
right?
That'd be fun.
Exactly. And then I'm going to say, I have a choice of saying go to a page view, which is another page in this particular PDF. Go to open a file, which is what we're going to do, or open a web page. So I'm going to say open a file. It's going to say what file do you want to open. It's on my desktop, conveniently, and it's called contract.pdf. Select that. Again, it's important that you maintain the file relationships, because if you don't, you're going to have a problem if you move stuff. So if you're going to do this, create it in a folder. Make sure that folder gets moved. Any subsidiaries. What we did for the SACS one is I created a folder. I created a folder called supporting documents. So there's a folder called New College SACS submission. Then inside of that is the main document, and then inside of there's also another folder called supporting documents, and everything was in that, and then organized within that, sort of down a tree. But you want to keep that organization. That way, just by moving that New College SACS submittal folder, everything went. And you could zip it and all that good stuff. Okay, I'm going to say now, you could say Windows set by user preference. This, when you click on that link, what's it going to do? Is it going to open it in this window of Acrobat, sort of taking me out of this one? Or is it going to open a new window or an existing window? By user preferences, there's a system preference in Acrobat saying, where do you want to open these? I like to say new window. I'm in charge here. Okay. You'll see it put a little box around it. Hey, isn't that great? Okay. Now if I click on this little box, you'll see it opens up that other PDF. And in fact, that PDF is a form. And I can actually make this, fill this out as a form.
And the only way you could fill out a PDF that is not a form is to open it in Adobe Acrobat.
Correct, and then it's still painful. No, you can actually, again, you can do it in things like preview, and you can cut and load, paste text in. If people do forms, the best thing to do is create a form out of it. It's actually very easy to create a form out of a non-form PDF. There's a wizard that basically looks at your form, and it says, hey, this looks like a field, and you basically have to give it some names and clean it. As long as it's not a really poorly laid out thing, it's really not that hard to do, and I've done this now a few times, where it's just easier to just create the form. I had a student who needed...
So many times you get a PDF.
Right.
You have to print it out.
Right.
Or
Right.
fill it out, or turn it into a Word document or whatever.
Right.
And then make it into a PDF again. so
Right,
you can
and going
send it.
from Acrobat, from a PDF back to Word,
Yeah.
good luck. I mean, it sometimes is okay if it's, again, mostly text and not a lot of formatting. If there's a lot of formatting not so good, Adobe 11 claims that it does a better job of that. That's what they claim. 10 did better than 9. So it's always better, but you always wind up with, because of blocking and formatting and tables get ugly.
So
how does that
turning
happen?
a PDF that looks like a form but isn't a fillable form into a fillable form, but that's when you need.
That's when you need
Acrobat.
Pro. You definitely need Pro to do that, yeah. Preview will not do that, at least not last I
You
tried it.
can fill in some things now.
Yes.
It's easier to fill in without having to use the annotation, but it's
Yes,
still clunky.
it's still clunky. Yes, I do it for like our, leave form, which is a terrible form.
Yeah.
And at some point I'll just clean that up and make it actually usable. There's a project. So that's,
It's fillable.
yes, sorta,
Yeah, ish.
ish.
Sometimes,
Ish.
especially when you have to hit those lines.
Yeah.
If you're taking like a couple of lines worth of leave, like you're gone for a week or something, and you put
Right.
each date in. Sometimes it goes to the, you have to like go.
Yeah,
No,
it-
I don't
go
even
back.
worry about that.
Yeah.
Just put it wherever it
Yeah.
falls in, 'cause
And
it's
that's
only
sorta-
internal.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's a link to another PDF. If I wanted to link to a different page in this document, so way down here again, now I have these links. Say I wanted to link talking about contract renegotiation to this point in this document so someone could click there, because I don't want to have to recreate all these documents here, or have all these documents here. So I'm going to go back up to, again, the first year list here, and I'm going to highlight the word contract renegotiation, or words. Control click here, and again I'm going to say create another link. This link's going to be go to a page view. And if I wanted to, I could make it look different, maybe so that I know that, I can give a hint that it's not going out of the document, or underlined. There you go. Well, I'll go D-dashed. Okay, next. Okay, and now saying use the scroll bars and basically go to the right place in the document. And you can set bookmarks, we'll talk a bit about those in a minute, to get things more closely. And I'm going to say I want to go to here, set the link. Okay. And now I've done that. So now again, if I click here, it takes me to that other document. But now if I click here, it takes me into this document at that point. Again, sort of just the ability to jump around stuff, okay, all within the same document. Another thing I can do, and one thing I can do is I can set a bookmark, and I say, so I can get back to this page quickly, so I can say, Control, insert bookmark, add bookmark, and I'm going to say first year. And then I can move these around however I want. So now if I'm down here, instead of me having to scroll all the way back up, I can just come here, click there, and it takes me back to that page. So I can create these bookmarks that, again, are now part of that document. Questions? Okay. I'm going to, on number 13 here, say, hey, there's an external link to the CEO. Okay. And instead of me trying to figure out again, having to copy, I don't want to copy all that detail here. I'm just going to go. I'm going to go to that web page. Conveniently, I have a web link on my desktop somewhere. I think it's this. Yes. Okay, so that's a link to the website, and I want to grab this URL. Let's copy it. Come back to my PDF, and again, the same way I did the last ones, I say create a link. And this time I'm going to say that is going to go to open a web page, and I want to make that an underlined sort of convention, some sort, old convention, but it still works. And I'm going to say next, and I'm going to just type in the URL. Okay. Again, now if I click here, if I close that window, it will open up in my default browser, that page. Okay. So that's linking. Pretty easy to do, and that's also how to create these bookmarks, which again you saw brought me back to the top of the page. So I can set bookmarks however I want, sort of all over the place. So I could do like one for first year. Again, I can create a new one. If I highlight it, let's see what happens when I create that bookmark. look at that, it sort of created it for me, but I probably want to clean it up, right? So it might actually be easier not to have it auto-create the bookmark, but, you know. Also, nothing stopping me from just highlighting third year, add bookmark. That's a little cleaner, right? So, you learn. Get rid of the dash. Good. So now I can quickly go from here to there, right? To those resources, however I want to do it. I don't have to have text there for the bookmark. I can just go right to the top of the page, sort of. Well, I have to go somewhere. So, again, add a bookmark. Oops, wrong tool. Add bookmark. And just call this links. And again, it stuck it there because I was there, but just put it wherever you want. And you could put links sort of in links. So. And you can, again, say, do you want to highlight it? Do you want to hide it? All that good stuff. So that's sort of the basics of sort of linking and sort of navigation of the PDF. Obviously, I can search it. This was all text, so I didn't have to do any optical character recognition in it. If I had scanned something in, Acrobat Pro also has OCR tools built in, which are pretty powerful. And a future date, I will do a full session on various OCR tools and ways that you can use OCR and where it works really well. And I know some people have gone to some sessions on that on campus. And yeah, 95% is a good rate, but it sort of depends on what your source material is. So it's always nice to get it native, because I didn't have to do any OCR here, and obviously I can now search for third here, and in theory it should find it for me, right? Yeah, I don't have to worry about the OCR aspects of it. Okay. So another thing that sometimes we get requests for are things like headers and footers. So while you're not in Word anymore, or a word processing package, you can still actually make some content changes to your document here. So if I want, I can add some headers and footers to this document. Easiest way to do it, you'll see this thing that says Tools here. I'm actually going to go to under where it says View, and if you go to View Tools, it gives you sort of a shortened version of it. It's a little easier to get to. And I'm going to go to Tools, and it is Content, I believe. There we go. Header and footer. I'm going to say Add a header or footer. It's kind of Word-like. Okay. Pick your font. So this is what your first challenge, which is if the font in the document's not the same as the font that you wanted, you sort of have to do some font matching to see if you got that right. For my purposes here, I don't care. I'm just going to leave it, but I can make it a little bigger. Okay. And I can say in the footer I want to insert the page number. I like to do it between dashes. So I'm just like that. Wild and crazy. And say I want to put the date up here. Insert the date. And I can change the formatting for that, so the month and date are, say, sure, go for it. And I can change the page number formatting. And I can say, you know, that cover page, I don't want that cover page to have a number on it, right? Start page number. Page number formats that, and I can do sort of one of, that type of thing. I can't do Roman and stuff like that very easily, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I can say start page number 2. I think that'll do it. I hit OK. Let's go put that 2 there. I hit OK. Let's see if it worked. Nope. Actually, the total opposite of what I wanted to do, right? So actually what I want to do is I want to say start page number format. So I want to start page number 1. And then I say, there's some other spot to do this, telling it which page I want to start doing it from. Oops, didn't want to do that. Cancel. We'll cancel that and start over. Headers and footers, update. Page number, oh, there it is. Starting page number 2. Start page number 2. Page range options. I want to say from page 2 to 6. Let's see if this one does it for me. I think this one does it for me. Nope. Oh, you know, it did, but it didn't. So I'm going to go to headers and footers, remove them. Okay, so it's now gotten rid of them. Let's try that again. Header and footer, add header or footer, put the page number.
It's because of the dashes.
It was the dashes. It's the dashes. I'm putting them back anyway. I like the dashes. Put the dashes. Again, I can put the date here as well. I'll just leave it at the default one for now. And now I'm going to say page range options from page 2 to 6. And I think that'll now do it for me. It says no page number on the first one. Woo! And there we go.
Alright.
And I got that starting at page 1.
I was gonna say, here's my question. What if you wanted that to be a different page number? Like, what if you wanted the cover page to be 1 for some reason?
But
Could
not
you,
numbered, you
but
mean?
not numbered?
Show it.
That's when it would be starting at page 2.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I
Yes.
see what you
Yep. You change the starting number. Now that said, the other way you do it is you do your page numbers and things like that, and then you combine the documents after.
Yeah. Which
That's
is what
we
you
used
do
to
with the
always
Roman
recommend to
numerals.
thesis students because they got so freaked out about the
Roman numeral, yeah, if you notice there, I don't believe Roman numerals was an option here under page numbering formats. We're somewhat limited, so that is an issue. So if Roman numerals are important, you have to do it by hand. And I've done that by hand. You can go in and add a text box to the bottom of the page and manually type it in for those pages that
Or
are.
do it in Word and then combine the two.
Yeah. Yep. This is sort of the after-the-fact approach there.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I might want to do, though, is I might want to add a table of contents to this document. I don't have that page here. There's no sort of automatic make a table of contents thing here. But I have another Word document, conveniently, which I will just go to briefly, called Table of Contents. And it's just a Word document. And I know that the first year starts on page 2 now, because I can now go back and look at my document and see where that started. And I know that starts on 3, and we actually had to do this on the SACS documentation because, and I'm going to add another links. Links. We'll say start on 6. Because we had to do that same thing. The way we put that document together, we got bunches of things and we sort of inserted pages all over the place, and we didn't know how many pages it was until the end. So the table of contents was like the last thing done after we actually numbered it. We had to page number it and then do the table of contents. And, but I've now done this, save as a Word, as a PDF again. So for those of you who might have forgotten how we did that, that's how we did that. I'm not going to bother saving the Word file. Okay. And now I'm going to go back to my Acrobat file and I'm going to insert a page. Easiest way to do that is have them showing and select the page either before or after the one that you want to insert. And then under these tools again on the side, you'll see there's one that says Insert Pages, Insert from File, Table of Contents, PDF, select. It's going to say, do you want to put it before or after the current location you're in? I'm going to say I want to put it after. And now we have page 1, page 2, and it didn't screw up my page numbering because I still wanted that to be like that, right? Now I can come through here, and if I want, I could use bookmarks or links, however I want to do it. And yes, I did screw up my page numbering in my PDF because that's actually 1, not 2. So I'd have to go back, fix the Word document, right? Because that's really page 1. Or I can go and change, re-header footer it and do it that way. I'll leave it for now. We're good. You got the idea.
It's possible.
It is possible.
Yes.
Okay. So again, we've now inserted that page. And now again, one thing I've not done at all, by the way, good thing to do, save. It's going to say, what do you want to save it as? I'm going to call it, it likes to call things binders. I'm going to call it call it NCF Advising. Handbook. Right. Put it on the desktop. So my desktop, yes. Okay. Good thing to do. Save often. Okay. So now I have this document. I can now send it, do whatever I want with it. One thing I might want to be able to do with a document is encrypt it. If I'm sending a document that has proprietary information or sensitive information, social security numbers, things like that, I might want to be able to encrypt that document, and Acrobat has that capability as well. So if I go under View, Tools, Protection, I'm not saying, I can click Encrypt, and I can either encrypt with a certificate or a password. We're not going to do certificates. Certificates require that you have certificate authorities, and you have to send certificates back and forth. That was a different lecture that we talked about a couple of months ago about certificates. We'll just do passwords, make it simple. Okay? And I'm sure I want to change the security on this document. And I can say, what's the compatibility level? If you make it, here's the key, the further back you go, the less secure it's going to be. Because I'm guessing once you get back around here, it's probably an unencrypted password. It's passworded, but not necessarily encrypted. So if you can, stick with the most current version is your best bet. And that's true when you compress files as well. Stick with a recent version. If someone calls you and says, hey, I can't open that, you say, hey, Reader is free. Download a free version of Reader. Okay. So I can say I want to encrypt all document contents or not the metadata. Okay. And that might be useful if people want to be able to search to find the document on their computer. By not encrypting the metadata, you'd still be able to find it because it's information about the file. It's not the file itself, right? So I might have metadata, and we can look at where that goes in there. Also, I could say just encrypt file attachments if I had attachments to these files. I'm going to say everything. Okay? And I can put a password to open the document, which I'll type as open. It's not a good password.
Not good.
Oh, try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I hear that's great.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I can do a different password for changing. So I can give two different levels of security. So I can say, hey, anyone with this password can open it, but only if you have a particular, only certain people can actually go in and change the document. So I'm going to call that one change. Also, by the way, not considered a good password. And I can say, is printing allowed or not? Which is kind of a useful feature, because you might say, hey, it is or not now. You'll get a warning when I do this at some point that says, hey, some tools don't respect these settings. So, and here's the other reality: if there are if there are pixels on the screen, you can print it.
Yeah.
So, if you can bring it up on a screen, print screen still works. So, but I can say is changing allowed or printing allowed, or as copying allowed and whatever. Enable text access for screen readers. This is an accessibility thing that you should do in general. And we didn't run this through an accessibility test, but it is accessible because it's all text. And if there wasn't all text, you'd want to do that. So it's going to ask me what's the document open password to make sure I know what it is before I actually save this one more time. Okay. And again, all Adobe products enforce these restrictions. However, some don't. Your mileage may vary. And this is the change one, I think. Yes. Okay, now I have to save it before it will actually apply that. So I did Command Save, close the document, and you'll now notice it has this big lock on it. Now, if I go to open it just by double-clicking on my computer, remember I'm using Preview as my default, Preview does respect it. So if I type open here, it'll open it, maybe. Actually. Okay, well that one didn't work at all. So let's try it with Acrobat. Open with. Open. Yeah, that worked. It's possible my hand was in the wrong place. Let's try that one more time. Not liking it, huh? So,
Not on preview.
not on Preview. So a locked document, at least the way I created it, I think it's because of the change one, it's not letting me do it. I think if I just did it for opening, it would.
So
But
Ellen, you've sent this encrypted document to someone. How do they know what the password is to open it?
you call them up and
Oh, okay, so that's.
Send it in
Send
an
it in-
email. It's great.
send it in open email.
Right, password.
Well, you know, often
Password
people
to open this
often
encrypted
people
file,
will do
yes.
that is send another email without any sort of information about what that's in that email and just say,
Yeah.
Yep.
my accountant does that. But
Just put it in the subject line.
Subject line,
Well, that's-
right. Password,
document.
password to open document called, yes. So if I just do open here, and now I come into the tools again, and I come to the header and footer, I try to update the header, and I want to say, instead I want to change the page formatting here to be that. I say OK, and it's going to say, no you can't. Okay. If instead, however, I had opened it up using the change password, change. Now if I go to Tools, Header and Footer, Update, change that to be, oops, whatever, hit OK, hit OK again. Now it changed it.
I like how it makes you go through all of the actual changing before it warns you. It doesn't it's not like the minute you start hitting edit it says, guess what? You can't do that.
Now when I go to close it, let's see, I think it's going to ask, no, it didn't ask me for the password. So again, now those settings, if I want to change them after the fact, let's see if that works now. Yep, still not working. Go back to open with Acrobat. Change. Under File, Properties, there's a lot of stuff, but part of it is security, and here's where I can come in and change these settings again. So if I want to change it after the fact, I can do that, or I could have just gone in here to begin with instead of using that little wizardy part.
So Ellen, in the ARC, how many of the computers have Acrobat Pro on them?
All the Macs have Acrobat Pro in them. The PCs, we do not leave it loaded on those machines. We load it on some machines for purposes of thesis turn-in week or day.
Is there a reason why?
Yes, we don't have another 800, the licenses. It's a licensing issue. It's really a licensing issue.
Can I ask you a question about that previous?
It's always money, isn't it? Let me see if open now works here. Because I got rid of the change. Yep, still not working.
On the encrypt page,
Mhm. Yep.
I was just curious.
Open, because I got rid of the change one. Yes.
Um,
Preferences. I'm sorry, that's Acrobat Preferences. It's under File Properties. It's a property of the document. Yep.
But that would be
okay, right. There's a there's a button for encrypt all documents, and there's a separate button that says require a password. So what happens if you encrypt but you don't click require a password to open?
It's going to make you do it.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
just wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's sort of a poorly laid out screen in a sense, because the encrypt should be, password should be either before or after, but yeah. Clearly this was a later added feature. The other interesting question, if I'd done that, it might have actually worked with, let's try that again. Open.
You're
Change.
gonna live dangerously.
I am. I'm like that. Okay, command save. Do that again. Let's see what happens this time. Just double click. Open. Yep.
So different version. And
Versions.
here we
So they've not updated the version that's in there. Yep. Yes. And I did the open password, so if I try to change password. Yes.
go. There you go.
And here's again where I can sort of start inserting pages and things like that. If it doesn't blow up. So, there he goes. This is what happens when something blows up on your computer. This nice log that you can send to Apple. Anyway. Let's change. Okay. So I'm in the document again, and sort of the major features I was going to show today. Anything else anyone would like to see?
question.
Mhm.
So many times you get forms and all you have to do is sign them.
So signing a form.
Signing a form.
So there is a signature tool. Is there a signature tool in this version? I believe under protection, edit action. I actually sign things using preview. But, let's see. There's definitely is a signature tool here. Here you go, apply. You can add a sign and certify. So there's something called digital signatures, which are legal in this country. And it doesn't actually have to have a physical look, doesn't have to physically look like your signature. You just basically say, I signed this. So you can create these digital signatures, and you can do it with a visible or without a visible signature. You do it with a visible one, you have to sort of draw it in, or you can take a picture of your signature and do it that way. And then you can insert that. I used to do my billing this way. I would insert a digital signature and say, yeah, sign, here's your bill. And so that does require, I believe that does require Pro, not Reader, because you have to basically save the signature, and the signature gets saved into your version here, and there's something about certificates and unsigned certificates and all that. So if I try to sign this and what happens when you sign a document is it timestamps it. And what happens, and the key with signing it is that it puts a stamp on it, basically says any changes after that break the signature. So what you're effectively doing is you're saying, this is the document as I created it at this time. If someone changed it afterwards, that signature doesn't work anymore because the timestamp's associated with it. So if someone gets it and they say, hey, you signed this, you say, hey, the signature, and it will actually say, it'll put a, not good through the document. Here, I'll sign it here. I think it's going to want me to do something. Let's try that. Handbook signed. Save it. Allow, sure, whatever. Okay. And this thing here is actually technically a digital signature, and I'll zoom in so you can actually see what that looks like. Maybe I zoomed in a little too much. Here we go. Yeah, a little too much on the old zoom there. Maybe 200. Here we go. That's a digital signature. And if I close the document and I go to open it again, it's this one here called signed. It does say that actually. Open with, and I'm going to open again with Pro. I'll hit open. And you'll see that signature. And you're going to see that it says something about the test certificates. Don't worry about that. But you'll see there's even the little Adobe icon here. If I come in and change something here, I have to open it in the change mode. Let me do that. Okay, I'm going to try to change something here. I'm just going to, I'll just add a tool. I'll just add a text box of some sort, or a comment. Comments are always nice. Here, I'll just add a comment.
This is not your signature.
This is a test, right? Okay. And what it should do now is it should break the signature. Save. Didn't break the signature. Supposed to break the signature. Not sure why it didn't. Here we go. Here we go. The revision of the document that was covered by the signature has not been altered. However, there has been subsequent change to the document. Okay.
So this would be a way that our thesis student who lives in Montana could sign the submission form
Mm-hmm.
and then just send it via email.
Correct. You could do a digital signature, and again, you don't need, I mean, you can do one that looks like your signature.
Because I mean, basically,
But
if
this
they
is,
say they're going to mail it, usually what we do is.
I'm not an attorney, but my,
Sign it, print it out.
You play one on TV?
I'm not an attorney, but I have a lot of them in the family. My understanding is that this is basically considered a electronic signatures are legal for most transactions.
I mean,
Except
if we had
Alabama.
somebody who was really computer savvy using a
Not going
digital signature, that's great.
I'm not going there at all.
Usually we just say, print it out, sign
Yeah.
it, and
Yep.
when you mail in the copy,
Yeah,
make sure you have it.
right.
Now, if I try to do a save as, let's do a save as. PDF. Sign changed. Let's do this. Much easier to put the word change at the beginning. So I can find it on my desktop. Save. And let's see what happens if I do that. Now open it here. Open with Pro. Signature validity is unknown, right?
Now, did you have to click on the signature for it to do that, or? Did
Yeah, and I've seen where it does actually give you more of a warning. And again, part of it is I didn't do the whole set up the signature thing completely through. If you're going to do it right, you want to do a validate signature when you create the signature, and what it does actually is it goes out to Adobe and it creates a electronic signature file that you then load into your computer, and it does all those things. I just did the basics. But another time we could sit down and talk more about digital security and digital signatures and such, but you can sign them. Okay. In Preview, just open up any old PDF. I can actually do a Tools, Window, it's under View, some Show Toolbar, Show Markup Toolbar, there we go. Right here, I have my signature, which I took a picture of. That's how I signed those timesheets. It's not it's again, that's different though than the electronic signature. Let's try just opening this now with open.
So it seems like if you have if you're a Mac user and you have Preview, you don't really, by and large, need to get Pro.
No.
Because you can do...
You can do a lot of stuff in
Three-quarters
Preview.
of
You're
it.
not going to do everything in Preview.
Right.
Yes.
creating a form out of a bozo form would be it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. But you don't need on a Mac because of Preview.
Yeah.
You don't need. I do a lot of stuff just in Preview.
Yeah. And there's really no PC equivalent.
Not free. There are free, and there are free downloads that you
Yeah.
can get. It's not.
But
I mean,
not
here it's just built in.
Yeah.
The difference on the Mac is that you can make anything. You can PDF anything from anywhere. So, I can take this web page.
Yeah.
I just say File, Print,
And then, yeah.
and I say PDF. Save as a PDF.
So
You know.
basically what I do with my typewriter
Right.
on a PC.
Right, right. So I've now created this PDF of the New York Times cover page somewhere on my desktop. There it is. Right. Slowly opening. Freaking out my computer. Not sure why. Well, whatever. File, force quit. It shouldn't be having that problem, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt on that one. So. Other questions? Acrobat Pro. If you did want to OCR document, if you had one in there, again, I don't have one that requires any OCRing here, but if I go back and just open a recent file. This is already OCR'd. Again, under View, Tools, it's under, I think it's Document Processing. And Optimize Scan PDFs, which will do this sort of automatically for you, which is kind of nice. And I can run it through it. Make it searchable, apply OCR. It makes the file bigger, so that's one thing to consider. But for accessibility reasons, it's a good thing to do. Apparently, this is a digitally secured file because it's not mine. Let's grab one of mine. Here we go. Okay. Tools. You can slide down the whole list again, or you can do it the way I did it before. Create an accessible PDF. This is a good thing to do. We should be doing this, basically, to PDFs. Students should be doing this to theses. So what it does, a few things. In this case, it's not going to be a big deal. But it does things like puts title, lets you put the metadata in for readers and such, for screen readers. So I can say, advising, who's the author, whatever, keywords, and it makes sure that links are active and tells you, and this is like sort of walks you through, which is kind of nice. And one of the places that you run into are tags and documents for things like photo images. So it will actually ask you to tag images. So you can put a tag description of images, which again, and students should be doing this in theses, and authors should be doing it in other work to make them accessible. So, and it's a lot easier to do up front rather than after. And it will tell you what it had a problem with. It didn't have any problem with this one. Apparently, whatever had a problem with, I can't read. Not helpful.
I never knew the accessibility.
Yeah, the accessibility problems I can't actually read. Oh, here it is. Okay. Here's the detailed report. Page 1, all the text lacks a language specification. So there's a lot of stuff that you can go through here. Yeah. Again, it'll tell you how to fix it. Good tool. Great tool for that. And I did this with a student a couple of years ago who had site issues, and we took some files and we ran it through it, and depends on the document.
They have been so wonderful. A number of years ago, we actually bought a reading machine for a student, and he was pretty much the sole user of it. But to be able to have those tools.
Right. It is definitely labor intensive, though. I mean, it's not a lot of it's automated, but you have to think about it as you're doing it. Even in Word, if you take advantage of tagging the images, then those will come through. So starting to think about accessibility is important, but that's a discussion for another day. Well, thanks for coming.